Hello bakers, welcome back to the tent for your showstopper challenge today. The lovely Paul and Prue would love you to make a vegan celebration cake that could be the centerpiece at a party or a happening if it's the 60s.
The judges are looking for an inventive, visually exciting celebration cake made from plant-based ingredients only. They can be any shape you like, so from classically tiered to novelty, but they must be utterly delicious. You've got 4 hours.
On your marks.
Get set.
Bake.
Welcome back to Vox Popcast, the weekly pseudo-academic roundtable of pop culture analysis with drinking and swearing. My name is Christopher Maverick, but you can call me Mav, and I am once again here with the entire crew. I've got Hannah and Wayne and Katya. How's it going, guys?
I feel like that's an extra loaded question this particular moment in time.
Do you think that maybe we should switch the introduction to be like something more, I don't know, if you could be a fish, what could you ever be? Or so I don't know, to lighten the dark days. I don't know.
We can note what hasn't gone wrong in the world. Like the murder hornets haven't resurfaced. That's good.
That's true. That's true.
We did escape the murder hornets.
Yeah, that's a subplot.
As far as we know, they might there might be a resurgence, next week. See, I would not be surprised.
My theory is, if you've been on the internet, the Neowise comet is in the air and people are like marveling at it. And I know that within the next 24 hours, they're just going to be like, oh, by the way, it's hurtling towards Earth.
Okay, wait, guys, hear me out. What if we're in the bad place? Because one, I people keep saying I don't know how it's going to get worse, and then it does.
I'm going to get a Molotov cocktail. That'll solve it.
Oh wow! You shoehorned in the reference to The Good Place.
That's actually a good segue into tonight's topic.
It is, but before we do that, you want to before we went on there, you said you wanted to acknowledge something.
Yeah, that's true. Which is very different than tonight. So I just the passing of Congressman John Lewis last week. That was last Saturday when we were recording this. Him as a piece of history, as a comics guy, I feel obligated to hype up the graphic novel series March. There are 3 volumes of it that tell the story of his life. And just a quick anecdote, as part of the Toonseum 3-4 years ago, we hosted John Lewis in town, brought him and the creators, the writer and artist of the March graphic novels in to do a talk. And I was lucky enough to be able to sit in the green room with him and just talk for like an hour before he went on. And there were maybe 8 of us in the room, and just really, you rarely get to sit in the presence of genuine history. I mean, this guy spoke, he was the speaker before Martin Luther King on the day of the I Have a Dream speech. And he was just a guy, like there was Quiznos sandwiches and he was making sure everybody ate. He was taking care of us. He was so just kind and present.
And he was the guest,
Yeah, he was the guest, right? And he also talked about the comic, the Montgomery story, which came out in 1957, I believe, and early life story of Martin Luther King. But more importantly, it was used as a guide for passive resistance. There were art and comics to help teach people how to participate in protest and passive resistance. And I would make the argument it's one of the single most significant comics ever produced, just purely from a historical point of view. He that's the book that made him go find Martin Luther King and become part of this movement. And I'm sitting in this room, and it's a Toonseum event. It's comics. It's about March, the graphic novel. But I hear someone of his stature, someone who is going to be talked about in history forever, just say directly, a comic book changed my life. Well, okay, that's all the justification I need for anything I've ever done. So, so just as an anecdote, that was just a pretty remarkable moment. And I did want to just acknowledge his passing and recommend anybody who hasn't read March really needs to do so.
Yeah, I'll link both March and Montgomery story in the show notes. And I should point out, if Montgomery's story changed his life, March probably changed so many other people's. It's phenomenal. Graphic novel.
The writer is Andrew Iden and the artist is Nate Powell, who we linked to in last week's Propaganda show, the comic strip about the Punisher symbol. So there are connections here. So anyway, there's that.
That's the somber, sad part.
That's the somber, sad part. But let's move on to something more fun. We need a fun episode.
So returning back to what we were saying, the world's on fire. I really don't want to get into. Yeah, we're in the bad place. I had an argument with Donald Trump this week, sort of, on Twitter.
I don't think you had an argument with Donald Trump so much as everybody else on the internet.
Yeah. But like we're having a rough time, and I was going to say in America, but on the planet Earth right now, particularly in America. And yeah, the bad place. I can't say she's wrong. So Hannah, why do you say that? And how does that relate to what we're doing today?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious why I said that. But also, like, if you think about the way The Good Place begins, there are all these things like murder hornets that don't make sense going on in the world. and then, like, as it slowly unfolds what's happening, it does make sense. And the only explanation is we're in hell. I mean, hell is other people.
Yeah.
You mentioned murder hornets, but do you realize it's only like murder hornets were a thing? It's been like six months ago. We were afraid of wild boars attacking everybody.
Yeah.
It was happening. Yeah. I forgot about that. That was.
It's been a long year.
Honestly,
there were murder clowns last fall, weren't there?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always murder clowns. But like,
there's a lot of murder things in the last year. Let's like not have that anymore.
I mean,
can
like
2021 be the year that we have like pacifist squirrels?
Here's to hoping. But like, it's funny.
Or chipmunks.
Oh man.
Hey.
Oh, okay. To save us from that.
Sorry.
I mean, like, it feels like we've been living the same day for, I think, almost 7 months. Well, like me, because I was self-quarantining in January because I was finishing my dissertation. It's been the same day for 7 months. And I think that we originally were going to do an episode back when the world was sort of less on fire, about comfort TV, feel-good things like the Great British Bake Off, our Queer Eye, that were like kind of wholesome and made you like believe in the world again, because Katya and I were writing our dissertations, and it's not a fun task.
And when I'm stressed out, which I have recently learned because of, I was going to say armchair therapists of Instagram, but actually actual licensed therapists of Instagram, which there is a thing, that apparently rewatching, especially comfort television in particular, but especially rewatching television, as I am wont to do on the reg, is apparently a symptom of people dealing with anxiety. And I'm like, oh, this explains so much about everyone's Netflix habits in the last 2 months. Like, we need
kids wanting to watch Frozen over and over again. It's that comfort of knowing what happens.
Okay, look,
right, which for me is the Great British Bake Off. Every time I have a moment of stress from dissertation to COVID, we rewatch the Great British Bake Off. It's very soothing, very wholesome. Okay, the food is not very wholesome. We just acknowledge the fact that Katya will eat more dessert than is entirely necessary.
I mean,
whenever that moment reoccurs to me.
I mean, after the last episode that we recorded, I went downstairs and Josh was making cookies, and it was like I walked into my own Great British Bake Off.
Is he mailing me cookies? Because if he's not mailing me cookies after this episode, I'm gonna be very annoyed.
We don't even have your new address. We don't know where you are.
Fair. But what if he emailed me cookies?
That's a different kind of cookie.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Different kind of cookie. We watched the Great British Bake Off season where Nadia wins, and I was so touched by it.
She's my fave.
I started crying. I mean, it was just so nice. And also, like, my favorite thing about the Great British Bake Off is it's not a competition in that it is a competition, but everybody is so nice. So, like, if someone's running out of time,
so nice to each other. They cheer for each other.
They help
each
other.
It is wholesome British television. It is.
If someone's running out of time, they're done. They'll help.
Yeah,
they'll help.
People like it's so good. And I forget his name. Who's the carpenter guy? Who was, I think, one of the early seasons. Hold on.
There are many men who have measured things very specifically.
There's apparently multiple carpenters. Yes. What is this? Richard, who is very delightful.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't really have a point other than Richard is great.
Also, in the newer seasons, Henry is very delightful because he's an English literature major.
Also, there's really good sweaters in the Great British Bake Off.
Yep. Also, Noel has very nice fashion sense.
Hold on. So just want to make sure we know the topic for the listener because I wrote the blog
we're not just
and I have a bad
talking
memory.
baked
So
goods?
I'm to understand we're talking about baked goods made by carpenters and sweaters. That's the whole episode?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, okay,
Now
for
you
Katya,
turned it
this
over
is
to us.
probably the...
It's not quite
No,
that.
it's I mean, we're all living through this very intense time in which murder hornets may or may not be pending.
Mhm. Oh, by the way, and coronavirus, we know, and the Black Lives Matter protests, we know. We're focusing on the murder hornets because somehow murder hornets seem like the thing that I'm least worried about right now.
Also, don't forget about how we should abolish ICE because they're just pure evil.
Yeah. Murder hornets feels like of all the problems in the world, murder hornets feels like the one thing I have the most control over in my life. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Murder hornets just feels cognitively manageable in this moment.
Right,
where it's like anything else, I will just start having like a low grade or high grade, depending on the circumstances, panic attack. Whereas murder hornets, I'm just like, okay, just stay inside. But wait, we wanted to talk about like television that is like, it's feel good television, like the Breakers Bake Off. It's peak coziness.
What's getting us through the disaster and comforting us and making us feel good?
The thing, a list of things that make 2020 tolerable to us. that we're consuming media. We're
kind of
consuming.
specifically TV.
Although weirdly, when we conceived of this episode, we wanted to talk about squishy, warm, fuzzy TV like Great British Bake Off. But I think that because of the pandemic,
the world caught on fire. Yeah.
Slash, everything else. I think that that sort of definition has expanded to other things because what comforts us might be weirder than we think it is. We'll see.
I'm finding that it is.
Oh, like our running new favorite YouTube channel.
Yes.
Marble League.
Absolutely.
Look, we're doing a whole episode of Marble Leagues.
But we should at least mention it because I want to know, has Wayne caught it yet?
I have not. Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, I keep forgetting, quite honestly.
It will change your life.
All the emails.
But Wayne, your team's the Oceanics, right?
Okay.
If you want to follow losers, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're terrible this year.
I see. You have to understand. I've been a Team Galactica fan since I was a very young boy. I used to grow up. I remember watching Marble League as a small child and dreaming that one day maybe I could compete in Marble League.
I'm sorry, you
could be a marble.
You dreamed
That's
of
right.
So for our
YouTube channel,
for our not regular listeners, Mav, can you explain the joy, comfort?
Marble League is a sport
that is Marble League.
Yeah, it actually started, I think, in 2015 or 2016.
When Matt was a young boy.
Yeah, when I was a young boy. But it is a sport that it's marbles that race and compete in various Olympic style competitions. There are races. There's long jump. There's hurdles.
And we would like to specify this is not people playing marbles in a league.
No, they're just
These
marbles.
Are the marbles
moving down
competing.
Moving down a great, well-constructed Lego track. It's great.
And there's all different teams that are usually grouped together by either design or color. Yep. And each has a captain and teammates with names. And this
personalities.
Year, yes. And this year it's being sponsored by Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Saving Marble League, and donating a lot of money to food banks. Which actually, I think that the John Oliver episode that introduced this to a wider audience was about how unethical sports scene is in a pandemic. I just want to bring that up to remind people that maybe you shouldn't have student athletes who are unpaid on campus right now. But that's another episode. But marbles.
But you can have Marble League because marbles do not transmit COVID.
That's right.
They have no respiratory system.
And the commentary is fantastic.
Yeah. Other than that, it's might as well be a sport because it's a sport and the commentator takes it absolutely seriously. And it is awesome.
It's
delightful.
Amazing. And the reason I feel the need to bring this up is because as regular listeners, as you all should be at this point, would know, Mav and Hannah helpfully pointed out to me that this was the most Katya piece of media in existence. And I have to say, I agree. The only things that could be added to it is
bunnies.
The marbles could be wearing tiny hand knitted sweaters.
Yeah.
And or sewing was one of the competitions. But I will accept that having marbles sew is and or knit is difficult because they lack opposable thumbs. So I accept this major oversight.
I mean, the season's not over yet. We don't know that won't happen.
But
this is true.
This is the most physicsy based sport in that they care about physics in the commentary that I've watched in a long time.
Yeah.
And what is sports without
curling?
physics?
They often talk about physics.
Yeah, not to the extent that Marble League does.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
But the caveat there was that I've watched.
I like curling.
Yeah,
Curling's
but
great.
curling's never
Curling's-
like available to watch.
There's a lot of there's a curling league in Pittsburgh, Mav.
A really good friend of mine is a competitive curler. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, remember when the Olympics was supposed to happen?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
They just started building.
We're only talking about happy things.
Right. They don't need the Olympics. I got Marble League.
The Marble League is
Marble League is so
Olympics.
much better than the Olympics.
Yeah.
They started building a curling stadium here, whatever it's called, a curling tent. I don't know, here in Pittsburgh, like last fall sometime, and I'm sure that has also just been
Sad stuff. Marble League, happy Marble League. But yes, anyway.
So okay,
Wayne
clearly
needs to watch
I've been
it so we
enjoying
can
Marble League.
so we can do an episode talking about Marble League.
Okay.
I have I've been discussing with our good friend Andrew at the Protagonist podcast. He and his wife are also watching all of Marble League. And also my friend Kingdom James of the Handsome Genius podcast, who was on our show a few weeks back. He devoted his entire last episode to just talking about Marble League. He didn't even have a guest or a co-host. It's just him raving about how amazing it is. I'm telling you, it is the best thing ever.
It's great because it takes like the weird absurdity you sometimes get in like very dry British humor.
Mm-hmm.
Adds the I don't even know what appeals to people about sports because I don't watch a lot of sports, but I'm assuming some of that.
The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Right. And just like, and I think there's also like the childhood nostalgia of playing with marbles and just like a shot of like pure whimsy that's just like, oh, this is exactly what I needed. There's no downside to this. The only thing that could possibly happen is like interpersonal conflict between different groups of marbles.
Which happens. It does happen sometimes on the show. There's controversy sometimes. It's amazing. There was an injury this week. Somebody had to pull out. It's so great.
Well, I missed that part. How? Okay.
Somebody pulled a tendon or something. I don't know. Like they substituted somebody out in the last competition.
Yeah. But like if you watch the qualifiers, the jungle jumpers just like jump straight off off the plunge. Yeah, on the funnel plunge. Yeah. It's very dangerous. The marbles. These are marbles that are in the tip top of marble conditioning. Like these are athletes. They're marbles that are athletes. Unless you count the pinkies, I don't think really athletes.
They better be playing Eye of the Tiger in there someplace because there's
I'm sure they just don't have right.
That's a style of marble, a tiger's eye marble.
The crazy cat's eyes. Yeah, screw them. Nobody likes them.
Oh, shots fired.
Well, I mean, okay. So, Kati, you haven't picked a favorite team yet. You said
I haven't picked a favorite team. The other thing is also I partially because apparently I'm the person on the show that moves around a lot. I just relocated to Chicago, which my family's from the South Side, so I'm not like just randomly traveling places.
Yeah,
I have joined on to the family, my aunt's family pod. I'm not like whatever spreading COVID all over through the land.
Right. You've been moving around a lot.
I've been moving around a lot. Haven't been dedicating a ton of time to Marble League. Also because I think I want to savor it. I don't want to like binge it.
Well,
but we're not binging it. We're watching it. We're watching it
week to week. Yes, and just
I guess I've been watching some of the old ones too, just to like get up on the Marble League history. I need to know, maybe there was controversies from 2015 that mean I shouldn't root for.
Yeah.
What
I was going
teams.
to say is just don't. It's tempting at points to root for the O Rangers. The O Rangers are punks. I'm against them.
Also, the Savage Speeders have an offensive name.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very invested in this. We should move on because they have.
We need merch. We need merch.
Well, yeah, I do want Marble League merch. They will be linked in the show notes. And by the way, if you also, because you asked about this last week, I did link them on the favorite channels on our YouTube channel, so you can go to our YouTube channel and link to and go and find Marble League that way. And while you're there, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We barely have any subscribers because I keep forgetting to mention it early in the show. So mention now.
And subscribe.
The YouTube channel is fun. The YouTube channel, I've been putting up old episodes as I have time, and I put the new episode up usually the day after the audio, sometimes the same day, but usually the day after the audio version drops. I put up a video version of this podcast, which is usually it's the same as the audio, but then you can see examples of the stuff we're talking about sort of on the side. So even if you're not going to watch it, subscribe to it. We need the subscribers. It does help. So.
Speaking of YouTube, I realize that this is technically a podcast about television.
No, YouTube counts because I have one too. So go ahead.
Well, and also Marble League is clearly transcends all media genres and is its own entity. No, but I think I was thinking about TV shows I've been enjoying in quarantine, and I realized, with the exception of finally reliving my 90s childhood and watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, which somehow I missed the first time around of my childhood.
Well, we were closer to college than not when that came out.
No, that was still, I guess. Okay, I was watching anime through middle school, high school, and college.
Oh, I'm not saying that we were out. I was watching it in college. I'm just saying we weren't children. It wasn't Sailor Moon era.
But Appa is great. But honestly, other than Avatar, I haven't really been watching a lot of TV. For whatever reason, I've been mainly watching YouTube.
Well, what are you watching on YouTube?
A lot of really weird stuff that would not normally appeal to me. I've been watching anyone who is a YouTube person has probably and enjoys reaction videos has probably run across Brad Mondo's. He's a hairdresser in New York, I guess. And he responds to basically people posting videos frying their hair off with bleach. Not on purpose. Well, one presume not on purpose. And I don't know why, but somehow watching people screw up their hair, I find cringy, but also cathartic. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but they're extremely popular on YouTube, so it's not just me. So I take comfort in that.
Guys, I found the Marble League merchandise.
Ooh!
Oh my God! Wait, there is merch.
Yeah, it's on.
That'll be linked in the show notes. Yeah, you're linking that in the show notes, right?
And also, please drop it in the chat.
Yeah, that's how.
Drop it in the Discord. Put it in the Discord.
It's right there.
Oh my God. Okay, now I have to pick a team though.
Yeah. Well, now I'm kind of considering. I think that the Oceanic shirts actually look pretty good.
Oh no, you can get one that's just the full league. Mm-hmm. You can just proclaim your love of. You don't have to be because I don't like taking sides because I love all the marble.
You should not love the Pinkies or the O-Rangers. One's just sad and the other's just...
The O-Rangers is like rooting for the Patriots. It's just wrong.
I mean, but in general, I support just the whole concept of Marvel League.
Fine.
Is that an option?
Fine.
You can support the whole concept of Marvel League, yeah.
Okay.
I like the logo for the...
Midnight Wisp is a respectable
Midnight Wisp
team.
My second favorite team.
Yeah, and that might be.
Sorry, guys, we're not actually doing a real episode. We're just going to talk about Marble League and what merch we're going to buy. I can get a flag.
Okay. I'll take us back around. Avatar actually has been something that I've heard a lot of people rewatching or watching for the first time, and it's real good. And
Legend of Korra, the sequel to Avatar.
It's about to come out. Mm-hmm. That's about to come out on Netflix in August, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's been a lot of posts on Tumblr about this, but what I really like about Avatar is it is actually a lot more critical of Empire than pretty much any adult TV show I've ever seen. And handles it really well.
Right, because once the Fire Nation attacked, everything went to hell.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Josh knew nothing about the show. And I said, we should watch Avatar. He's like, oh, yeah, well, once the Fire Nation attacks, so apparently that's just in the zeitgeist. Because the world's on fire. Mm-hmm. There we are.
Right.
We're back around.
And maybe that's why it's cathartic, is we are living through the time of the Fire Nation in various respects. And, it's about children coming together to overcome the horrendousness of oppression and tyranny and, cartoony fascism.
Well, I have a YouTube show that actually relates to the world being on fire, but oddly in a good way that, takes a little bit of backstory. I listened to a lot of podcasts, obviously, but one of them is Kevin Smith's podcast. And he mentioned that he was doing this. And it took me a couple of weeks to get around to it, to listen to it. He's got what I'm going to nebulously call a sitcom that he's doing. Now, this takes a little bit of explaining. Since the world is on fire and since we are literally running out of content for television, like the fall season's in danger because people can't film stuff. TBS, the cable channel, had this idea for a show that they call, I don't know, it's called Celebrity Show Off or something. And what they're doing is every week they have 5 celebrities record a 5 to 6 minute YouTube show from their homes of whatever they want to do. And most of them are doing, hey, here's a reality show. Here's me baking. Here's, me interviewing some famous friend of mine. And every week they vote off one celebrity. Whoever gets the least likes gets voted off. And they replace that celebrity with a new celebrity. And then all the money they generate goes to charity. You get like $5,000 goes to your charity every week. So anyway, apparently Kevin Smith was invited to do it. And he had mentioned that he was going to do this. So he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do just a talk show or anything like that. So it works more like a sitcom than a reality show. He's playing himself, but he always does. He has a show which he's calling Son in Lockdown. And the premise is at the beginning of quarantine, his daughter, Kevin lives in a home in LA with his wife, his wife's parents, and his daughter, who's now 21 years old. And right at the beginning of quarantine, because they were going to be quarantined, his daughter's boyfriend moves in. And Kevin, at least in the show, Kevin hates the boyfriend. In fact, in the show, he met the boyfriend that morning. She's like, my boyfriend's moving in before we're locked in. And then the lockdown starts, so he can't leave. Now, in real life, obviously, he knows the boyfriend very well. And it's completely scripted and it's goofy. It's essentially a sketch show. And every episode is essentially Kevin trying to trick the boyfriend that he hates into leaving the house so that he won't be allowed to come back in. But the catch is everybody else in the house likes the boyfriend more than Kevin hates the boyfriend, but his wife, obviously his daughter likes the boyfriend, obviously, and the grandparents they all love the boyfriend. He just annoys Kevin because Kevin is the grumpy's 1960s sitcom dad who it is goofy. It is campy and goofy and shouldn't work. It's exact. I couldn't watch a half an hour of it, but it is exactly right for 5 minutes a week. Any longer than that would be too much because they're just ridiculous farcical things. On one episode, he's trying Harley, the daughter, makes the rules for the house for some unexplained reason. So she's got the rule that if you step outside of the house ever, then you aren't allowed to come back in for 2 weeks. You have to quarantine yourself somewhere else for 2 weeks. So that's what Kevin's trying to do. He's trying to get the boyfriend to leave. And then the boyfriend, who is an idiot, he's a dummy on the show, but sort of a dummy, super hippie kid. The boyfriend tricks Kevin into leaving instead. So Kevin isn't allowed to come back home for 2 weeks, and he's living with Jason Mewes from Jay and Silent Bob for that 2 weeks. And then when he comes back, the boyfriend has adopted Kevin's dog. So there's a whole episode about that. It's just ridiculous. So, and the dog likes the boyfriend better as well. Everybody likes the boyfriend better. So it is just him trying to deal with it. And I just got into the show. So then I started looking at the kid's name. The boyfriend's name is Austin. So I found out he has a YouTube channel himself, and he's a really nice, sweet kid. Not I don't know if he's an actor. I don't know what he is other than being, the boyfriend of the daughter of a famous person. And he talks about it. He talks about it on his YouTube channel. He's got a video. He's like, yeah, it was really weird. I've been living with my girlfriend and her family. My girlfriend's father is Kevin Smith. And one day he comes and he knocks on the door and he says, Austin, guess what? We have a TV show. We're going to be on TBS. And I'm like, okay. So obviously he's just been thrown into this, and he just throws his heart into it in these completely very weenie-ish kind of plot. So it's delightful and cute. And it's just there's things every time Kevin walks by the door and the door, the door to Harley's bedroom, which has a sign on it that says if the room is rocking your daughter, I'm knocking, or something like that. It's just all kinds of, and it's just him being upset that this kid's here having sex with my daughter in my house because I am a grumpy old man. And he makes grumpy old man faces constantly, and no one else in the house cares. In fact, the grandparents, he's like, well, your grandparents live there. And every time you see the grandparents, they're just making out heavily and as well. It's so ridiculous. So I recommend this show.
Yeah, I've kind of rediscovered sitcoms as well. I haven't really watched a lot of sitcoms in a long time. When I started working at Phantom, I was there till close most nights of the week for a long time. So you must see TV just didn't happen. And I get out of the habit of watching most of them. I did watch Big Bang Theory out of some weird sense of obligation of these are my people on TV. And
barely.
Yeah, barely, right. But I saw it through the end, and there were things I liked and problems I had with it and whatever. But it was 22 minutes a week, whatever. I can do it just to see what they do in this world that I live in. But this spring, something that my roommate Marcel, who's been on the show, watched years ago that I had missed, that he wanted to rewatch. It's on Hulu. I'm going to name two shows here. They were both created by the same person, Gregory Thomas Garcia. The first one is My Name is Earl, and the second is Raising Hope. Mm-hmm. And we just finished Raising Hope, and I really adore both of these shows in a way that surprises the hell out of me. They're funny. The humor is absurdist, but they're also little morality plays. Mm-hmm. They make me feel good. Almost every episode of Raising Hope I would tear up someplace or another. Mm-hmm. And they were just different moments. Marcel, this is for Hannah. Marcel and I have this whole theory that My Name is Earl is the same universe as The Good Place.
And he's just trying to make his way in.
And it's about being better. Yeah. Like it starts out with a lottery ticket blowing to him on the wind, much like that final scene in The Good Place where with Chidi and the ticket and whatever. And the basic premise is I'm Earl and I was a dick. I did horrible things to people all my life. And then I discovered the concept of karma. So now I'm going to go back. I've made a list of everybody I've done wrong, and I'm going to go back and fix it. Mm-hmm. And hilarity ensues. Mm-hmm. And it's really incredibly well done. In Raising Hope, which I think Earl is the funnier of the two shows. Raising Hope is the more heartfelt of the two. In Raising Hope too, I need to comment on two of the actors in particular. Flores Leachman, who was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show back in the day, plays Mama, the grandmother who lives with them. And you can make the case that this is not a very flattering picture of someone with Alzheimer's, but this 84-year-old lady throws her whole self into this role. She is fearless and hysterical. And periodically, because of her madness, they allow her to break the fourth wall because it's not really breaking the fourth wall. No one knows she's doing it because she's just not well. Mm-hmm. She'll say things like, well, you never, was on an award-winning TV show and slept with the Oscar winner Warren Beatty, which she did in real life. And they're like, yeah, mama, whatever. But these are things Flores Leachman actually did, which her performance is just astounding. And Garrett Dillahunt, who I know, he played two different roles in Deadwood. He was Jack McCall, who shot Wild Bill Hickok. And he was, later on, he was a very fancy gentleman who liked killing whores, and was just kind of the embodiment of evil. He's currently on Fear the Walking Dead as John Dory, who is the best person in the Walking Dead universe. Not necessarily best character. I love him, but he's the genuinely best person in that universe. His comedic talent and timing on this show are just, I just couldn't take my eyes off him, his facial expressions. And with the Deadwood connection in particular, Martha Plimpton plays his wife Virginia on Raising Hope. And Martha Plimpton is the daughter of Keith Carradine, who played Wild Bill Hickok, who Garrett Dillahunt shot. And there was the episode of Raising Hope where they go off to a dude ranch run by Keith Carradine, who is dressed pretty much exactly like Wild Bill Hickok.
That's cool.
So, and the character John Dory in Walking Dead is a gunslinger who worked at an Old West dude ranch kind of place. Mm-hmm. So I think they're all the same guy. I think that. So I've just rambled on, but those two shows have just been a wonderful, heartwarming way of getting through the world being on fire. And then I have two more things. I'm just going to throw them out there. I'm going to move from sitcoms to movies. We talked about these, I think, earlier, but early in this whole thing, I watched both Good Boys and Troop Zero, which is on Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. And they're both coming of age stories, which Mav and I have well documented on the show, our love of coming of age movies.
Both very good ones too.
And they're both just really adorable. They're just really fun and funny and heartwarming and sweet. And if you're looking for something that makes you feel good, they both do that. So that's pretty much everything I've done that made me feel good in the last 6 months.
Man,
Just those like 4 things.
I just watched Jurassic Park as many times as Josh will let me. Which is like, okay, look, all the sequels to Jurassic Park are not as good as they could be, but everybody's been tweeting, I'm so sorry, Jurassic Park sequels. I thought it was stupid that there would be more than one park or people would try to go back. And now I see through the idiocy of like how people have reacted to this pandemic, I was wrong. No, like it always made sense. Like the fact that people are greedy and will take your money, like it will always make sense. Like people see John Hammond as a Disney like character. Yeah, he's a real bad dude in the book and they soften him up for the movie. But he like Disney is evil and so is the corporation. And look at what they're doing at Disney World with the hellscape. Anyway, I'll stop now and pick a TV show. Which is Josh and I have like we weren't really reality TV people except for the occasional like Australian Netflix reality TV show that I've documented on the show, like Back with the Ex or Love Is Blind. But I discovered The Amazing Race and Survivor, and actually, like we watched the first season of The Amazing Race, which was really interesting. It like premiered like right before 9/11.
Yes.
And it like it's really more of a documentary about like I mean like they still do this in that they bring on people who have pre-existing relationships and see how like doing around the world in 90 days, which is basically the premise of The Amazing Race. If you don't know what it is,
Can we break you up? Yes.
It's not even just can we break you up, just like how does it affect you? Like they have like a couple who's trying to reconcile because they have a kid together. And by the way, he is so annoying. She does not deserve him. They have you know, like life partners, 2 men who have a dog who's a really cute dog, and love to travel. They have a mother and daughter, and the mother and daughter like get to know each other better, like going on these adventures. They have 2 like frat brothers who are best friends who I can't decide if I want to punch them or not. Anyway, they just like go on like this adventure in like the early 2000s, and it's totally different. And like, there's definitely like some like ways that these like Americans in a race are acting that make me cringe. But you know, like it's just really interesting to see how that show was. And like, because my sister is really into The Bachelor, like the most reality TV I like was exposed to growing up was ABC's The Bachelor, which is like known to this day still for being extremely like white and extremely straight. And I was like, oh, CBS, what do you cast like diverse people even in like this first season? It's amazing to like see something different. But yeah, so we watched like several seasons, including like later seasons of The Amazing Race, including one where it's half like couples who already are in a relationship, and then the other half of the contestants are blind dates who are just matched up.
The blind date the blind date year. I remember that.
And that is hilarious because Phil, the host, is like, so guys, have you like found love? And they're like, we found love with the world. It doesn't work out for anybody. They're friends. Yeah. It doesn't work out for anybody.
Yeah, that was a weird season because I think they were hoping for the kind of love connections that one has when you just kind of, what was the show, the robot dating show that we watched? The Temptation Island style show.
Too Hot to Handle.
Too Hot to Handle. Like, Too Hot to Handle. The entire premise of that show is we're just going to throw a bunch of hot people on an island and cross our fingers, tell them they can't have sex and cross our fingers and just hope they fuck for the cameras. And I think they were hoping for that for that season of Amazing Race, and none of them did, because it really isn't like being on an island with like lots of alcohol and nothing to do but like sit around in the sun. That's kind of a romantic, fun thing to do on a date that like maybe you'll like fall at least in lust with somebody. You know, being forced to run up the side of a pyramid and then through a jungle while trying to solve a puzzle while eating gross. This is not good first date stuff.
By the way,
no, it's just mainly exhausting.
Though someone did get engaged that season, not the people who just met. Though, by the way, Harry and Francesca, who got engaged famously over like Zoom via ring pop from Too Hot to Handle, have ended their engagement. So,
did they?
That is
darn.
over. I know that we're all very sad about it.
Yeah, I stopped caring about them. I have a reality show too. Oh well, Survivor. I should point out because I like Survivor too. You didn't talk about that one, but
I will talk about it.
Oh, go ahead, because I've always liked Survivor more than I like Amazing Race. I have a reason too.
I like the Amazing Race more than Survivor because, in general, to me, at least the seasons I've watched, the people are better, and their relationships are more genuine. But
yes.
But like I think Survivor, like, and also Phil is a very nice man who isn't an asshole. And I know that I've been trying to.
But isn't the reason people watch reality TV shows because people are awful?
She's talking about the host. She's talking about. She's comparing the host to Jeff Probst.
Which Josh used to watch Survivor like before we even met, and he quit apparently because Jeff Probst was terrible. He's so mean. So like there's this season Survivor Samoa, which is famous for having a man named Russell Hanson who was an absolute sexist dick. He like anytime a woman questioned him, he was like, I'm gonna take you out. And then he like called all the women, I think, quote, like dumbass blondes, and said he was going to manipulate them. And then famously,
horrible person, probably one of the best 3 players they've ever had.
Well, it depends on what you think is a good player.
Good. I mean, literally at the actual game, he's a horrible person that I never want to be anywhere near, and sickening to watch. But like he was the one person most willing in the history of the show to forego any kind of moral fiber or anything purely for the ability to come in second in the game. Because he
thought he was going to come in first. Also, like this is the best.
You've only watched his first appearance.
I'm talking about Samoa because like Samoa is like when famously one of those quote dumbass blondes, Natalie White, beat him.
Yes,
and it's actually like kind of wonderful because there were actually like a lot of like really terrible men. So some of them were nice, but there were a lot of really terrible men in that season, and she orchestrated getting one of them voted off. Like it was all her. Russell didn't do anything. And he actually stands up at tribal council and gives a speech that at the time hit like very tired Hannah because we were binge watching this likened to like Portia's speech in The Merchant of Venice, and I was like, this is how you should play the game. Who is to say that she played a different game? And also like I think it's like important to understand that she saw the hand she was dealt, and if she went against Russell, he would try to get her out. And like a lot of times in Survivor, it seems, having binge watched too much of it in the too short of time I've watched, like a lot of the times like men will just like gang up on women, and also they'll just like protect each other at the cost of women. And it I mean, like, you know, kind of like the real world.
How many seasons in are you?
I've watched like 10, but
because it happens the other way too, but maybe not.
That's what I was going to say.
Much yet. Yeah.
So Samoa. So after Samoa, I Googled because Jeff Probst threw a hissy fit basically that Natalie beat Russell and is still mad about it to this day. So I Googled, is Survivor ever not sexist? And what happened is yes, I got one, I watched a couple other scenes, but I watched Survivor season 32. And what happens in that season is it's a brains versus brawn versus beauty tribe thing. And there are terrible men, like some of the worst bullies I've ever seen on TV anywhere on that show. And they annoy the women so much that they break their solid alliances with the men and take the men out one by one.
There's a few other times that happens too.
Yeah.
It's not. It happens before that. Yeah, there are. Yeah. It is. Well, I just want to say, because before we turn it into just the Survivor show, which maybe we should do a Survivor show. But yeah, I've also watched a lot of Survivor. I've not seen every season. I've seen most of them. Steph and I are both big fans. And here's where the reason why I said I think Russell's interesting. This is also why I like Survivor more than Amazing Race. Amazing Race, almost everyone, and I'm saying almost because there's some people on Amazing Race I have not liked. I've specifically not liked. But generally, Amazing Race is about you and your partner. Maybe it's your husband or wife. Maybe it's your boyfriend or girlfriend. Maybe it's your sister, or just some lifelong friend, business partner. But you show up and you're, like Amazing Race. Totally, any two of us could go on and be a team. And, and so the relationship stuff becomes about how our relationship as friends is evolving as we go on this journey together. But on Survivor, you're mixing, like, the people are clearly chosen to sort of not get along. Like the producers choose them to have sort of drama. And so you're watching people trying to navigate personal relationships and deal with their ethical code of whoever they are in the real life while playing it against this weird, it's not quite a popularity contest, but like it is very much an Art of War kind of game. Like you're playing against this weird thing, and it's more of a game as opposed to Amazing Race, which is more of a sport, right? Like Amazing Race, you can win on pure skill. You can just be the fastest and the smartest, and like there's a conditioning aspect that doesn't work as well in Survivor. Survivor, very rarely does the buff bulky guy, like the buff bulky athlete, actually win Survivor. In fact, they usually get gone right after the merge because there's like a strategy to it that like sort of you have to play your strategy versus how your relationships are. And then watching the conflicts is interesting, but there's like almost nobody on Survivor. I mean, I would never want to be in the same room as Russell Hannah. Hannah's absolutely right. But watching him as a pure villain, because he's somebody who kind of goes into the game knowing that he's the bad guy, particularly after his first season. I think even on his first season, but he goes in and he's just like, I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm going to play this as Dr. Doom, and I'm going to manipulate this game. And I think he kind of hoped he was going to win the first season, but he plays like 3 times and the 3 times, maybe 4. And after the first time, he knows he can't win. He knows his method of gameplay cannot win him votes in the end. He's always going to come in second. So he plays for second. And I remember, I think it's Boston Rob played against them. And he says, Boston Rob, who's he's probably the person who's played the game most times. And he says, it's impossible. I don't know how you play against somebody who is specifically trying to come in second, because it throws off everybody else's gameplay. Because he can't, because you can't, because everything is like, he gets, after the first time, everybody knows that he's a dick. Everybody knows he's evil. Everybody knows that no one's going to vote for him in the final round. So everybody wants to go to the end with him, because if you can get to the end with Russell, you're going to win, because the jury's going to vote and you're going to win 9-0 because no one likes him, and it throws everybody else off. And it's like really fascinating to watch. And then like he has a nephew, Brandon, who is horrible. He's an awful person.
I also want to say that like the original season we watched was Tuca Teens, and that featured the quote characters of Coach. And also, I think a sociopath who does not.
Oh, Coach is horrible.
Yeah, Coach is like, if you want to talk about like man who like actualizes like cultural appropriation, and also sexism, but also like Tyson is just a sociopath. I think he might have actually been worse than Coach.
I don't know that anybody's worse than Coach, at least to me. I'm sure there's personal choices in there, but I find him deplorable.
Oh yeah, like these people are deplorable, and there is something wonderful in watching them get voted off.
Yes, yeah.
And getting blindsided. But also like I would never go, like one day maybe if I learned to ride a bike, I would go on The Amazing Race if I were to ever go on a reality TV show. I would never ride a bike. No, I can't ride a bike. It's embarrassing. I grew up. But I grew up where like there was no safe place for me to practice riding. So I never really got taught. Josh is very concerned. It's fine. But then, I wouldn't go on Survivor because like half the food is like mangoes, and that is a no-go.
Right.
I'm allergic to mangoes and rice.
And rice.
And Josh says the greatest. Yeah, Josh says the greatest reality TV moment he's ever seen is Natalie killing a rat and bringing it back in a coconut. Because people are desperate. And then it's so sad when one team just keeps losing and losing, and they don't have anything to eat, and they're just like rained upon for like 20 days. There's no way. And also there's snakes everywhere. We have way too much Survivor talk on this episode. I wonder how much of it I edited out. We have way too much talk about Marble League and Survivor. Yeah.
I was going to say, I cannot contribute to the Survivor conversation in any way. Not much conversation, but just as another reality show that I want to recommend watching, because probably people aren't going to go and watch 40 straight seasons of Survivor. So again, I can see how you might. It is compelling.
On Netflix, there is much like Too Hot to Handle. There's another reality show that was on. It's only, I think there's 6 episodes. Maybe there's 8. It's called The Circle. The Circle is crazy. The Circle is they take 8 contestants and they put you in a hotel. And I'm sure they're probably filming one now because there's no reason not to. They put you in a hotel and you're not allowed to leave your room. And you communicate with the other contestants over a social media app that is only for the hotel room, for that one hotel. So nobody sees each other for real. You just chat with each other and post pictures, and maybe they're you, maybe they aren't. And whoever, and then people vote, it's like Survivor. They vote each other out, but like but the people are, some people are just being themselves, and other people are, I am a 19-year-old model and I love sex. And really it's like a 70-year-old dude, like it's exactly like real social media, but it's just, and the idea is like, you get to decide when you show up on the show, you get to decide, are you going to be yourself or are you going to play a fictional character and try, do you think you can get farther in this game and win the money by being honest and being real, or by, being a fake internet person? And that's the whole show. And it's only like I said, it's only like 8 episodes, and it was weirdly compelling. So like there's challenges, but they're all goofy challenges. Like there's a challenge where they had half an hour to paint a picture, finger paint a picture and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not like extremely physical stuff. It's mostly just watching these people sort of form relationships and try to form alliances over chat rooms. So I'm sure they're filming one right now because why not?
Why do you think we're finding reality TV comforting right now?
I mean, I think at least, I don't know if this is true for reality TV. I think for YouTube, like, what appeals to me about YouTube, like, maybe less of bleach fails, but like a lot of the channels I watch are, like sewing and vintage channels with like people being goofy and like showing me their dog because, these are the things that appeal to me. And I think that there's something like conversational about it in the way that like scripted television, and when I say scripted television, I mean like
written television, sitcoms,
right,
dramas,
written fiction, right? I think like it's especially as like somebody like who until I got to Chicago, like I've been living by myself. I think there's something appealing about that kind of like approximation of human interaction. That's kind of comforting.
I think you get that, and I think you also get human interaction like with drama that has no actual stakes for you, right? Like I don't want to fight with my friends. I don't want to fight with my wife. I don't want to, but like watching other people go through it is cathartic in some way that I think is interesting. Even, I mean, like people watch reality show train wrecks all the time. And I think now, especially, I think there's sort of a, oh, wow, like there's a lot of emotion going on there. And it's almost refreshing to watch. And then it's over and I turn it off and then I just kind of go back to my life. Right. It doesn't, it's an easy outlet.
I mean, like, I will say that I think part of the appeal of The Amazing Race is we can't go anywhere right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look, they're traveling all over the world. Oh, pyramids. Oh, mountains. Wow. Mountains are a thing. I forgot those existed.
Hugs are a thing. I forgot those existed beyond anyone but the people I live with.
Yeah, that's true. I have one thing left. Well, actually, I have 2 things left, but one I don't have much to say about. One is if you're a fan of Jeopardy, the game show Jeopardy, they ran out of episodes of Jeopardy because COVID. So now they're playing old episodes. And Alex Trebek just comes on at the beginning and he's like, well, here's the pilot of the show. And, we're going to journey all the way back to 1984. And this is what the show. And that's been interesting to watch.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, and
all the TV historians are like nerding out hard.
And it's crazy because I watched it as a kid. I watched it in 1984 or 83 or whatever year it was. Right. And it was an amazing thing. First off, Alex looks ridiculously young. Yeah. But also you look at it and the board with the questions on it, they're like old CRT TVs, and because like they're the best technology they had at the time
and less money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's way less money. The amounts are like in half, and like everything is just so weird about it, because it's just, it's just old school, and the questions just seem so easy in retrospect. Like we're going through and we're like, oh, this is simple. Like this is all kind of stuff that we just know. But the other thing is, and Wayne, I told you about this when I talked to you the other day. I have a movie recommendation, a movie that is on Hulu. And I think everybody should watch it. It is called Palm Springs.
Oh, yes, with Andy Samberg.
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
Yes, and Andy Samberg and Christine Milioti. It's a romantic comedy, but it is of the new genre of Groundhog Day, because Groundhog Day is a genre now.
Yeah. There's a lesser, terrible version on Netflix.
Okay,
don't watch the Netflix one.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah. Well, I liked Groundhog Day is in this. Live, Die, Repeat, the Tom Cruise movie. Happy Death Day, which is a good horror movie from a couple of years ago, was great. Well, this is a Groundhog Day movie, and the premise is very, very simple. Andy Samberg is caught in a time loop. He's at his girlfriend's friend's wedding. So he's a guest at this wedding, and he gets caught in a time loop a la Groundhog Day, and he's just living the same day over and over again. And when the movie starts, he's already in the time loop. The inciting incident of the movie is 10 minutes into the movie, the bride's sister, the maid of honor, she also gets caught in the time loop. So now there's these two people who are looping over in the same day over and over again. And she's like kind of weirded out when it first happens. And he's like, and in fact, the best part about it is when she gets caught in and he figures out that she's in the time loop now. She's like, what's going on? Didn't all this just happen? And he says, yeah, okay, so you're in kind of a time loop situation. How? I don't know. It's just a time loop. Just go with it. It's like yesterday was today. Yesterday was today. Today is today. Tomorrow will be today. This is your life now. You're in a time loop. Enjoy.
Welcome to 2020.
Yeah, and that's what he does, and it's so great, and it's corny and goofy and oddly compelling. Like the two leads, especially, they have good chemistry together, and it's kind of like watching their, he has clearly been through this loop a million times, and she's on like day 4, and watching them like play off of each other and sort of, is really sort of interesting. And like it is a twist on a love story that trope just makes it really interesting. Hannah, you said you saw it already.
Yeah. And it's not just, I think, me and Mav who like it, critics like it too, if that is something that compels you.
Yeah, this is something that should have been, this should be, if this had a chance to come out in movie theaters, it would be doing really well. Now it would have been like the sleeper hit of the summer. Easily, because it's that good.
Meanwhile, theaters will never open again in the U.S. in 2020, at least.
Yeah. Well, I do want to point out, while we're talking about theaters and that sort of thing, that by the time you see this, it'll be over. By the time you hear our listeners hear this, this is the weekend of San Diego Comic-Con, and they're doing lots and lots of programming online. They're doing panels and that sort of thing, and they're doing a New Mutants panel.
I was gonna ask you about that. It happened today. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but they're doing one. So the director of New Mutants, it might be the most positive person in this timeline because he thinks that there's going to be a trilogy still.
Does he still think that?
Last interview I read, and it was
oh my god. He understands that they're going to be in their 70s by the time the movie comes out, right?
I saw a picture. Someone posted a meme. It was a picture of the Rolling Stones. It said, "New Mutants cast gather for opening a film."
All right, guys. Let's play a prediction game. What will come out first, New Mutants or Avatar 2?
New Mutants.
Yeah, probably in some format.
I'm going to go with New Mutants just because I really dislike Avatar.
Avatar got.
Yeah.
He released a statement that he's sad to report that like filming has been delayed. He released that today.
Yeah.
Shit.
Is the only film actually filming Jurassic World Dominion, which I think is a whole metaphor in of itself, but this is not the Jurassic Park episode.
So we've resolved nothing, I think.
We've resolved that you should watch some, Marvels.
Watch something that makes you feel good. Yeah, watch something that makes you feel good.
Well, I think we've also resolved that capitalism is evil. and you shouldn't go to Disney World, probably.
Yeah, but they have hand sanitizer there.
Well, maybe in Florida, that's the only place you can get hand sanitizer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe don't go to Florida if you have that option.
Oh, God. No one should go to Florida.
For lots of reasons.
Actually, for all the reasons, maybe none of us should go anywhere. That is not necessary. And if you live in a largely populated area, you probably shouldn't go to like somewhere rural where they have very few ICU beds.
Yes.
Stay at home, watch Palm Springs.
And figure out what Marble League team you're going to root for and buy their merch.
I promise I will know more about Marble League next time we gather.
Look, if you guys are buying shirts too, I'm going to be really disappointed.
I might be getting a Team Galactica shirt tonight.
But see, this also like throws a wrench into my entire decision process because now I also have to think of like which T-shirt logos I like the best.
That's why you pick your team. That's like what looks best. Like it was either the Oceanics or the Midnight Wisp for me. They're both blue and beautiful.
I just that quick look. The Midnight Wisp was the
but I like
design
the duckies.
Oh, we are gonna give them. We're gonna lose all of our listeners to them now. Is what's gonna happen. No one subscribes to our YouTube channel, but everybody's gonna.
I think
we'll just have to become a Marble League commentator. I'm okay with that. Fine.
See you guys next week for Marble League. Or the week after.
Yeah. Ooh, what if we recorded us responding it to live? We'll just like watch it together, commentate. I think it'd be great. It'd be like Rift Track, but with marbles.
So sad.
Anyway, my brain has clearly gone off the rails.
Yes. How can people find you online?
You can find me on the Instagrams at Just That Nerd Kid, where I don't really post things because I'm not really doing much other than.
And after you saying that on every episode you've been on for the last year and a half, 2 years, I followed you while we were recording tonight.
And I haven't posted like hardly anything actually in quarantine.
Wayne, what about you?
My Instagram is the best place right now. I have been doing a daily photo sets, which are available, many of them available on various things on Redbubble. So, and that's it. Other than that, it's Groundhog's Day here.
Linked in the show notes. Palindrome Hannah.
Oh, it turns out I did post something on Instagram back in April. So I guess if you want to see what I posted, you can follow me on Instagram at Hannah Lee Rogers, but the Hannah doesn't have an H at the end.
It's non-palindromy, which is weird.
It's not palindrome. Well, it's because Instagram is strange. But you can also follow me on Twitter at Hannah Lee Rogers. And I'm not really posting my own things, but sometimes I'm replying to other people now if it's about cats.
Which is really the most important content on the internet, which we did not really cover the, I'm sorry, comforting thing that has to be added in. Highly recommend the Oregon Zoo Instagram feed, partially because they have a new baby red panda. So if you need some eye bleach and or emotional bleach to like cleanse whatever's going on, go look at baby red pandas.
What's cute? You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, all the places, always at Chris Maverick. You can follow my blog at www.chrismaverick.com, where I haven't been writing anything lately, but I've been meaning to. I've been really, really grumpy about people making really stupid political opinions. So there might be one of those in your future. In the meantime, you can follow the show on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, all the places, always at Vox Popcast. You can follow the show's blog at www.voxpopcast.com, where we talk about whatever we're going to be talking about next week. You can give us comments on the show. You can suggest topics for us. If you enjoy the show, we certainly hope you do. Please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, or wherever the hell you get podcasts from. And most especially, subscribe to us on YouTube. As I said, we have a new YouTube channel. That's fun to watch. Please subscribe to us there. We need to get to 100 followers so that we can actually get a custom URL, which is one of the things. It's the first milestone. And then we'll worry about monetization. And, we're all poor. Most of us are unemployed. So follow us there. Leave us a 5-star review, especially on iTunes. If you leave us 5 stars and write something, if you write us a review, that helps boost the algorithm, makes us more popular, and really helps us out. We would really appreciate that. I would like to thank Maximilian of Thoughtform Music for our epic theme song, building ever so more epically and playing us out. I'd like to thank you at home for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
That I might have heard about?
Yeah.